Howdy. Hello. I'm gonna do this in here. The lighting is much better, and I think the fire's going. I hope the fire's going. It is incredibly cold here today. Um, I set up shop in our spare room / game room. We have a little futon in there, and there's a sliding glass door in there, and our windows they need replaced very bad. That's telling me my phone has this thing where it tells you if it's level or not, but it looks not level. And when it's not level, it just kind of keeps showing me the line that it's not level, and it's driving me nuts. All right, we'll have to deal with it. Anyways, spare room has a sliding glass door, and usually when I wake up, it's pretty cold. But I have like this nice wool blanket that was my grandma's, and I have a little space heater in there with a remote. So it's a nice little setup. So, I got a TV in there, and I've been rewatching Mythbusters because it's all on YouTube. But last night, I think it was right after I did the vlog, we couldn't figure out. My wife and I were talking about why I was itchy. Because I wasn't itchy in the hospital at all. And then I came home and I was like, hey, I haven't been itchy. Because I had like a rash on my elbow pit and my knee pits. But when I was in the hospital all weekend, it went away. And I was like, yeah, I haven't been itchy. But then I started getting itchy again. And then the whole week's just been crazy, right? But I realized, kind of gross, but there was still the sheet that was on the futon, there was still blood on there. And 2 days ago, I changed it. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't change it. I just threw it away. And yeah, I think with the anesthesia, the surgeries, and I was on, the oxy. I haven't needed it the last 2 days, which is great. So my appetite started to come back, and then like my brain, I feel like, has been working better as well. And I was like, why this is gross. Why didn't I change the sheet? So I threw that one away and put a new one on. And I was looking at the sliding glass window, and I was like, I'd been thinking about the plastic that you put over the windows, right? And I've done like research before, and it's like people are always kind of basically like in video, like other YouTube videos are like, well, for me it was worth it because this is how much it costs for gas with, and this is how much it costs gas without. And sometimes it was worth it, sometimes it was not. And I was like, I really don't feel like doing the math, and I'm not sure how to even approach the math because we use a wood burner. So, and it's using wood is other than a few days of my labor throughout the year to stockpile wood for the winter. It's basically free, right? But anyways, I was looking at the sliding glass window, and I kind of like waking up, and I can see if it's still nighttime or if it's morning, and I like seeing the woods and the trees and the nature. And it's usually squirrels. We have a walnut tree in the backyard, so there's always squirrels doing what squirrels do in trees. But anyways, well, I just started like 3 different stories. Maybe my brain isn't working. I changed the sheet, and my wife and I were talking about the itching, and I was like, I wonder, the only thing I didn't think of was the wool blanket. Maybe it's that. So last night, threw it in the wash, hoping it's just the wash and I didn't develop some allergy to wool, because I love using that blanket in the winter. And I pulled a different comforter out of the closet, and there was another one in there, and I was like, what if I cover up um, the sliding glass door? When I woke up this morning, it was so much better temperature wise, and I don't feel itchy today. So I think I found the culprit. Um, Not even knowing that it was 5 degrees outside. And it felt so much better in the room I was sleeping in. When I walked past the thermostat in the hallway just outside of the room I'm staying in, it looked like it said 68. And I was like, oh, nice. Or 69, I think. I was like, oh, that's pretty warm for here. And I went out in the kitchen and I looked at the thermometer there. I usually check the temperature inside and outside. The one in the kitchen shows outside and the temperature in the kitchen. And I looked at the kitchen, it was 55, and I was like, ugh. And as you guys know, because I said it all the time, it's much colder in there. So, but I didn't check the outside temperature. So, we did our morning routine and got the kiddo off to school. And as I was scraping off the car windows, I was like, I can only get my coat on halfway, and I had my flannel on, and I'm scraping. I'm like, wow, it is cold. I've been used to it being like 20, 25 degrees out, which, it's cold, but it's not 5 degrees. But I'm scraping the car, and I'm like, wow, it is cold. So I jump in the car, shut the door, immediately look at the dash, and it said it was 5. And I was like, mackerel. So it was cold, but yeah, that room is dark now. So I'm a little bummed about that. No natural light, but I'm going to leave that up because it was much better. And I know our windows are bad because in the morning, when it's cold, it has moisture around the edges, and when it gets this cold, it'll freeze. Well, when I went to pull the blanket back, because I have it thumbtacked to the baseboard on the top, and it's like draped over the window, and then I kind of have it tucked into the little grooves and stuff, so it's up tight, so no air is getting out or minimalizing the amount of air coming around the edge of the blanket and all that. When I went to peel it back a little bit, it was like frozen to the window, and I kind of got a peek, and it wasn't just moisture and ice around the edges. It was like 2/3 of the way up. So I think it's definitely doing something. Definitely helping. In the kitchen, we also have a sliding glass door, and there was moisture around the edges, and I'm like, man, now I kind of want to put a blanket around there. So maybe, hopefully someday, I can get a decent YouTube check and replace my windows. Be nice to get the house insulated as well. But yeah, we're surviving. We're good. Oh, and then the thermostat. I thought it said 69, and all throughout the day, every time I walk past it, I would look at it, and I'm like, oh wow, 69. Oh, 68. Cool. I think that blanket's really helping. And at one point, I was on the phone with my friend, and I looked at it, and it went up from 68 to 69, and I was like, that seems weird, because I just put wood on the fire, it was like the middle of the day. I just put wood on the fire, and it was dead for a little bit because it was kind of a busy morning. I want to get to that. So it's digital, so when you push a button on it, it won't do anything, but it lights the screen up. Like the backlight comes on, so you can see it, but it's in the hallway, so there's no windows or anything, and it's kind of harder to see. But when you push a button, it turns the backlight on. It didn't say 69; it was saying 59. So, but I spent most of my day down here too. I was trying to work on some more music, but the insurance called, at one point. I actually, so let me start here. We dropped Jesus. We got the kid off to school. And I came back. Oh my god. uh, we got back, and the ideas were just flowing, right? For like little videos, little reels and stuff. And I like doing those, and also posting those a few times throughout the day. I feel like has been very beneficial because I started out getting a pretty good amount of views on the shorts and reels, and TikToks, whatever. Um, the short form videos, like where the camera's like if you were holding your phone normal, not widescreen like it is now. I call these long form, right? So the short form videos, I like doing those because I started out pretty good, like getting like, around 100, 200 views, which I feel like is a lot. And it just keep going up. And then I get little ideas like the one-handed musician thing. Like those have been getting like 1,000 views. It varies between platform because I always post on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. The same thing all at the same time. Um, Usually like, oh, I don't know, anywhere from like 3 to 6 times a day, just throughout the day. Um, and it just like, I get more followers from that, and I see it kind of bleed over into my YouTube or well, obviously YouTube views and watch time. You need more watch time to get ad revenue. Um, which that I found out something about that this morning, which was kind of annoying. I'll get to that, but yeah, I had a bunch of ideas, and I was recording them, and I'll just save them like in my drafts, on Instagram, because I feel like Instagram has the best editor, and then I just download them from there and post them everywhere else. But the ideas were flowing, and I kept getting interrupted. Like I'd get the fire going, and then I'd record some stuff, and then someone needed something, and then I'd do a little bit more, and then something else happened. But then like the fourth or fifth interruption, it was I got a phone call, and I get phone calls from random numbers all the time. Probably 5 times a day, and a lot of times it's a scam or something, right? But since my accident, I've been getting a lot of calls from friends and family and stuff, just checking in, or people just finding out and just checking in or whatever. But I didn't recognize the number, but the caller ID said it was my insurance. I was like, oh, okay. So I answered it, and it was a caseworker. She said she was a registered nurse and caseworker, and she just wanted to talk to me about my incident. Do I have time? And I was like, actually, no. Right now, it's not a good time. Can you call back in like an hour? Yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, crap. Well, actually, that's the short version. You guys need the long version. She called, and she was like, I'm a caseworker, registered nurse caseworker, for your insurance. And, I just wanted to get some information on your incident. Can you verify your name and date of birth? So I did. And then she was like, so can you, and she's doing this thing where I don't know if you've ever dealt with insurance, with like a car accident or something, they, and I'm not claiming anything, but with car insurance can be kind of weird if you get into an accident. Um, and my friend who I had just talked to yesterday, he had a problem with two work vehicles with his company, and they had both got hit, and they're just kind of screwing him around, and they call and they act like they're your friend, and they're trying to seemingly get information out of you to uh, any grasp onto any sort of thing you say to either say that they that it's was against policy, they're not going to cover it, it's actually the other person's insurance responsible or whatever, right? So I verify my information with this lady, and I say, or she says, yeah, so we're here to help you, and just doing the whole nice guy thing. And she's like, so can you tell me about the incident? I was like, you know what, actually, right now is not a bad time. Can you call me back in an hour? So she does. Well, I get off the phone, and which she called back like on the minute in an hour. I don't know why I said an hour. I just kind of panicked, and I was like, yeah, now's not a good time. Call back in an hour. Um, so I get off the phone, and I immediately go, okay, who can I call that I can just make sure I don't screw myself, because obviously it was an accident that was an emergency, and I'm not a good speaker, so I want to make sure that I say the right thing, or I don't say the wrong thing, and they stick me with a bill or something that should be covered, but they're playing their legal game or whatever, corporate game. So I start thinking of who can I call, and I called 3 different people who weren't available. And then they all kind of started getting back to me around the same time. So it's already a pretty long story, but so this part of the story, long story short, someone got back to me, who verified, I guess, basically verified with someone else that at this point, because it's so early, their job is just kind of to make sure, and this is just the information I got. And again, I'm putting this stuff out there so it's on record, hopefully to help you guys out, anyone watching it, So when it's this early and a caseworker calls, they're basically making sure that they are the only insurance involved. You know what I mean? Because if it's something that they can pawn off on renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance or car insurance or whatever. Yeah. So this lady called back before I had heard back from anybody, right on the hour. And I was like, I'm so sorry. It's still not a good time. Let me call you back. And then almost immediately as I get off the phone with her, my person calls me back. I get that information. I call her back. She didn't answer. And this is going on throughout the afternoon, right? As I'm trying to make content and figure out how I'm going to make an album. Because I quit my job to pursue music again, to build up my channel. And I can't play right now because I've never been one-handed before. So, she calls back, and, I had to verify my information again, who I was, and my birthday. And she just asked me what was going on. And I was also told just, answer the question, if I can, within reason. Which everything she asked, I think, was in reason. And she just, and to just, not go overboard on detail, right? So, I think I messed up once, but I don't think it's a big deal. She was verifying the prescriptions I got, And she said, so you were prescribed Tylenol or acetaminophen. I said, yes. And she's like, okay, so, and you are taking 2 of those a day, every 8 hours, whatever the prescription says. I said, yes, but I haven't needed it the last couple days. And I was like, as soon as I said that, I was like, why? Why? Just, yes. Yes. That's what, because, and that was like the 3rd prescription she had asked me about, or the 2nd, I think, because the first one she said, so you were subscribed, blah, 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 for your antibiotic. And I said, yeah. And she said, okay, and your dosage is this many every so many hours or whatever. And I was like, yes. You know what I mean? The first question she asked me was, so what happened? Well, how did you get hurt? What was your emergency? Something like that. I said, well, I was, and to be clear, I'm not lying or bending the truth. I'm just not being overly detailed. Because as you guys know, and I've told the story, which I think I wasn't very clear about, because I was talking to the person that helped me out today, or maybe he just got some of the info wrong or something, but I could explain the situation in better detail. But he was it was my friend. A different friend called me today. I've had a lot of friends call me. Thank you guys for reaching out. I really do appreciate it. He thought something else had happened. He didn't realize that I had cut my wrist and severed an artery. He was like, oh, okay. So it was like bad. And I was like, yeah, almost was like the first vlog update that I had where I said I was a goner or almost a goner. That was true. I like my wrist. You guys know what's in your wrist. And it was right in front of my kid. So not, scary, or it was not good. Period. Scary. That's probably not a complete sentence. Whatever. So she asked me what happened. So I was like, well, I was doing the dishes and a glass broke and it cut my wrist and I severed an artery. Oh, wow. That must have been scary. I'm glad that you're okay. And I was like, it was. Thank you. So I was just, you know what I mean? And, you hear all those horror stories and, she was calling me from a local number. So it's like, I can only think that, this is a person from the community and she's on my side. You want to think the best of people, but you hear all the horror stories. You hear all the horror stories and you got to protect yourself. You know what I mean? Because not only I got to protect myself, but that I protect my family and provide for my family and everything. So there's a lot to think about, right? So, and that was pretty much it. I mean, there were other questions that she asked, and I had my discharge papers with me. So, when she was like, so they prescribed you such and such for your antibiotic. And I had it right there. I think it was on page 2. And I was like, yes, that is correct. Or she asked me like, and I don't think you have any, and it was stuff like this. I don't think she quite worded it like this, but this is the kind of stuff that makes me fishy. She's like, and you don't have any restrictions, right? And it's like, no, actually I do. According to my discharge papers, I can't drive and I can't I can't remember how it was worded. It was like kind of scientifically, medically worded that, like, I can't use my right arm. I can't lift shit. You know what I mean? So, but I kind of always reiterated, like, no, I do have restrictions according to my discharge papers, and this is what they are, and this is what I'm doing, however, whatever the question was. So, I think I handled it well. There's still that bit of a feeling in your chest. It's just like, man, did I say something wrong? And they're going to be like, oh, hey, you know what? I said I was your friend, but yeah, we can't, we're actually not liable to cover this or whatever. So, in case any of my overseas friends that are watching, or Canadian friends, or people from not the United States of America, I just know I have a good handful of followers from like the UK. This is what the medical system is like in the United States, and this is what we go through. So the videos you may have seen on the internet, if you see them, I can verify the scariness part of talking to the insurance and dealing with this part of it. I can verify it's pretty stressful. Yeah. So, from my understanding, in a place like the UK or Canada, something like this happens. A glass breaks, it cuts your wrist and severs your artery. You get rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. They save your life. They fix you up. You're good to go. You get some prescriptions. You heal up. You recover. I mean, is there anything else? I mean, is there added stress of like getting stuck with a bill? Getting jerked around? Because another thing I was advised on was that that bills are probably going to come between different places. I don't know how that makes sense. There's ambulance companies. They're like not connected to the hospital. It's like a service for the hospital, but it's not employed by the hospital or provided by the hospital, which I knew. But so like you can get a bill from that and from the hospital. And if like they took me to one hospital and then they couldn't help me and they transferred me to another hospital, that could potentially be another ambulance company. So you could get a bill from one and not the other, or both, or neither. But I was basically advised, like, when these bills come in, it takes time, I guess, for the insurance to even go over it and to adjust. Doesn't that seem nuts? I mean, to me, it's like you go on Amazon and you buy 5 different things and you check out. They charge your card accordingly, and once that payment clears, obviously a little more complicated than this, but they fill the order and it gets shipped to you. And that's it. Something could be damaged and need returned or whatever. Generally, that's the deal, right, with Amazon. That's the process. But from what I was told from the person who helped me with how to speak to this claim adjuster today, it's more of like, this is what happened, and these were the services that you received medically, or products that you received medically. prescriptions, or I got that breathing thing, which I have to do today. I haven't done that yet. But it, like, the hospital it's like you have insurance to cover you from that because it's expensive, and the hospital will try and overcharge because they're trying to make money from other places that they lost, and people have worse or better insurance and anywhere in between. So anywhere they can kind of milk money out, they'll do that. But then the patient also gets bills because things haven't been adjusted yet. Isn't that crazy? That seems wild to me. It's like if you bought something on Amazon, it was like, oh, it's $10.99, and they charge you $10.99, and then you get it, and they're like, oh, actually, it was only $9.99, so we owe you $1. Or, I mean, let's get real. What company is gonna do that? Or hey, our bad. It was actually $29.99, so you owe us $10. Little nuts. Seems very inefficient. It's a very complicated system. Now, I don't work in healthcare. I have friends who do. On the insurance side, on the pharmacy side, on the what would you call it? Medical professional side, and it's very complicated. I mean, there's a lot of people needed with a lot of good training and education, depending on what department we're talking about here. They can't do this for nothing. And our, at least in my case, and many other people's case, my life depended on it. How do you pay? How do you make it better? It's not an easy question, and it's always a very political question. It's not very black and white. The first job I ever had that even gave me medical insurance was, shoot, how old was I? 32? I'm 30. I just turned 38 last year in September, a few months ago. Any insurance I did have, I pretty much just had oh shit insurance, which a lot of times I just didn't, because it's just like, dude, you're taking $100 a month for me, and then if something like this happens, before you even start covering anything, I gotta pay you $20,000. It's like, holy crap. I mean, does it cost? How much does it, how much does it actually cost? You know what I mean? I talked to my friend who is a nurse once, and I asked him about prices of things. And I'm like, what's your opinion on this? Because my grandfather, he was, how do I explain this? He was he was very much against universal health care. But his point was, when he was younger than I am now, and he had 3 kids, and when this thing happened with him, or when this thing happened with my grandma, or my father, or my uncles, or whatever, it didn't cost an arm and a leg for Tylenol or certain things. He told me a story once where when my father was born, he had to I can't remember, it was something, he had to have his own room, or maybe he was a kid, I think, and he got hurt, and he had, he's in the hospital room, right? And we're talking, my father's in the baby boomer generation, so this is probably late 60s, early 70s, right? He's a child. There's no cell phones, there's no internet. I don't even know if there was a TV in the room. And my grandfather got the bill, and it was numbers could be off, and information a little bit off, but just for the point, it was like he got this bill, and it was like $20, and he's looking at it, and it was itemized, and there was a $5 charge on there for the phone, and he was like, "Why would my child need the phone?" I mean, there's points as to why he wouldn't. I mean, I would want a way I wouldn't leave my kid in the hospital. I may not be getting the information right again, of course. But his point was there were things that you just didn't needed and you didn't get charged for, and there were things that you needed, and yeah, okay, I could get a bottle of Tylenol at the corner drugstore for 50 cents or whatever the hell it was at the time. And, they're charging me 50 cents for 2. Okay. It seems kind of crazy. But then I talked to my nurse friend, and he said, well, yeah, obviously it's going to cost more for 2 Tylenol because you have a nurse bringing it to you. Now, Tylenol, to kind of quote the show Scrubs, you could, obviously a joke, but the patient opens their mouth, you throw a handful at them, and whatever sticks, that's the correct dosage. Now, obviously, nurses aren't just bringing Tylenol, but his point was, a trained professional has to know what dosage, what to bring you. They have to be trusted to not steal it, which that's a whole other system that they have that has to be paid for, right? Somebody has to watch over that, or system has to be maintained, and that's why. And you don't go to the hospital when you have a headache, so that's why you can buy Tylenol cheaper here. You go and you get something like Tylenol or antibiotics. You go to the hospital and you receive Tylenol or antibiotics because you have something going on that you need to be in the hospital, where you need to be monitored by trained professionals. And I feel like you can compare that to if your pipe freezes and you need a plumber to fix it because you don't know how to fix it, or you don't have the knowledge or skills to attempt to fix it. You have to pay someone who knows how to fix it. How do you cover all that? You know what I mean? It's not easy. I feel like it's not easy, and I feel like people have a lot of answers and ideas that aren't necessarily bad. There's a lot that aren't necessarily good. It's not really something I want to get into, but, I don't know if I know what the answer is. I have my ideas and opinions, but, this was something, with the contractor comparison, right, or the plumber comparison. Um, I've done some side jobs since I quit my corporate job, just to help keep money coming in, right? So while I build up the channel and stuff again, um, someone asked me, they said their breaker kept popping, and could you check it out? And sure, I'm not an electrician, but I know how to do a lot of it, right? So I went over and I was upfront with her. I said, I mean, I can probably figure it out, but if I do, I will surely be honest with you and I will fix it if I can. But if I don't feel confident fixing it, I won't. So I went over there, tested a few things, did my thing, whatever, and figured I was a bad breaker. Um, when it got to the point where she had a lot on the circuit, and it got to the point where the breaker was trying to trip, it just sounded like it was arcing inside of the breaker. It was buzzing, and I guess she told me, yeah, it does that, and then sometimes eventually it pops. I'm like, okay, this is not good. I know how to change a breaker. Not afraid to do it. Uh, so I mean, it was a pretty easy fix. So, but that's something she wasn't comfortable doing. She didn't have the knowledge to do it, and I did. And I was honest, and I was. It's fixed. Her house did not burn down. Her stuff is working. The breaker doesn't buzz. And I mean, as long as the place that sold me the breaker is good, it should trip if it gets overloaded again. So, but you can't really. My point is that you can't really. Everything's just not black and white. Um, Typically, with medical things, you can't. Your neighbor's not going to know how to do that. Your buddy down the on the other side of town is not going to know how to do that. Your dad's not going to know how to you know fix your severed artery and tendons. And to be honest, I don't know if I would trust them to do that. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing. I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell. Sometimes people are schmoozers. Not with the medical stuff, but with the contracting stuff. I mean, they could really convince you that they could build a wonderful deck for you at a great price, and they're better at talking than they are building. But I think when it comes to the medical side, my point is that's why we have trained professionals there. I mean, obviously, the system's not perfect, as most systems, all systems, I would say, are not perfect. Not an excuse to push to make it better and more efficient and more honest. But I don't know what that answer is. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, kind of a lot to ponder. But I guess that was pretty much my next insurance update. Kind of really went off the rails here. Started off with talking about how cold it was and ended with, schmoozers building a deck. So I have this idea. I'm a very lucky guy. I've had dozens of people reach out to me about the album and saying that they would offer and lend their services as a guitar player, as a bass player, a drummer, everything. And I was talking to my friend about that, and he said, why don't you collaborate with people? I said, well, I mean, I just assumed that I would do my album uh, as planned with one less hand. And he's like, yeah, but what if you use this no hand thing to your advantage, and um, you reach out to your community and these people that already reached out to you, and you do the biggest internet album collab. Well, he kind of had a different idea, but that's we went back and forth a little bit, and that was the idea that I came up with based off of his idea. And I'm of two ways of this. Because the end result in my head seems awesome. Because it's like, this bad thing happened, you persevered, and not only did you persevere, it came out better than what you thought it could have been, right? Because no one would have reached out if this wouldn't have happened. Or I wouldn't have gotten this idea if this wouldn't have happened. But then the other part of me is, I don't know what I'm getting into. Because I don't know if it's just maybe I don't trust people. I'm always worried of getting taken advantage of, just because it's happened in the past. Someone's, basically stole my .com. I don't know. I don't know. If one person has bad intentions, because I copyright all my things, and I get all my licenses, and I do things the way I'm supposed to, in DIY form. I'll say, since it's DIY, I get as close to the line as I can without crossing it. Because I know that there's certain things I'm probably not the best at knowing, but, part of my music degree was I had to take a class in entertainment law. Not a lawyer, but it's kind of like, with this situation, I had some medical training, like CPR, first aid merit badge, things like that, right? It's like, it was my entertainment law merit badge. And I'm really not one for signs. I don't really believe in, like, it's hard to say. I mean, sometimes I feel like things happen for a reason, but at the same time, I feel like you're not gonna become a musician if you don't try. Does that make sense? Like, you're not just. I feel like sometimes people post a riff on TikTok, thinking like, I'm a good guitar player, I'm gonna post this riff, it's gonna go viral, and I'm gonna get a record deal. And that's just not how it goes. Maybe sometimes, but 9 times out of 10, it's like, when we see people online, when they go viral, you watch an interview that they do or something. They're like, how did you become an overnight success? It's crazy. And they're like, yeah, it took me 20, 30, 40 years to become an overnight success. You know what I mean? It's, I didn't know how to record when I first started. I didn't know how to tune a room. I don't know if you could tell through the microphone on my phone. I got it sounding pretty darn good in here. You know what I mean? I'm working with what I have. So it's not perfect, but point is, I would hate to put a lot of work into something to just get screwed over again. Because I saw a video. This is what I was getting to, was like, I feel like I don't always believe, what was it that I said? Things happen for a reason. Um, I kind of, I'm somewhere in the middle on that. But I just happened to see a video recently in the last few days, from, you guys may have seen her too if you're on TikTok, Meg, the music manager, or something like that. Um, but she said in her TikTok, "Be careful who you write your songs with." There's a little more to it than that, but it's like, oh yeah, yeah. So then I start thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, collabing, making a big internet collab album. That sounds so cool. Like all these different people from all over the world, and we helped Moose make this album when he almost lost his life or whatever, you know. And it's just like, they help me, and I'm helping promote them. And you know, sometimes I was hoping maybe I can find some, all like, you know, in my head, it's like there's like maybe a person from one of my favorite bands comes in, and you know, um, all of these good people that messaged me, and that want, you know, they're also building up their accounts and stuff too, and you know, and also uh, finding like some diamonds in the rough, like these really good musicians that just they're just not good at making TikToks, and they only have 10 followers, but they're an amazing drummer or something, you know. So this whole spectrum of people that come together, and we do the Punk Cover Moose album, and um, it sounds awesome, you know. Like they helped me, and I'm forever grateful, and like now I can help promote them, and it lifts us all up, right? But then I saw that video, and then I was thinking about this, these all these things that I'm talking about. I'm like, oh yeah, how do you split royalties? How do you how do you do ownerships? Are people going to want ownerships? Are people cool with me just giving them credit? I'm sure we can work out different deals for different people or something, but I also don't want to take all the credit, of course, you know. But how do you lift each other up? It's like, you know, I guess for the lack of a better term, or analogy rather, you know, it's like I had this issue. All these great people helped me out and pushed me up the ladder a little bit, so now I can reach down and pull them up. Sounds very corporate. I don't like that. Does that make sense though? Um, so that happens, but how do you do that on the honor system? I know I can trust myself, and I want to trust everyone else. I just, you know what I mean? You know where I'm getting at? Um, but then ironically, today I also saw a video on collaborating with other artists is it can be the best thing that you do as an artist. um, I don't know. I think I have to ponder on it some more and hash things out in my head and start writing things down and just see if I can come up with something, an idea. Because right now I'm kind of leaning towards, um, you know, if I need a guitar part, let's figure out how to do it with one hand. Because that in itself is a pretty fantastic feat and challenge. And sounds like a good story to me, you know? It's tough. I would really like to hear your guys' thoughts. Um, because man, I mean, saying that all out loud, I know how I feel, and it's like I got it. At the end of the day, I don't care what people think because I'm trying to protect myself, right? And at the same time, I'm like, I want the world to be a better place. And if I think and act that way, it's never going to be a better place. And it's supposed to be about creating anyways. And sometimes this is why I'm like, this is why there are systems in place to protect people, to protect artists, protect medical professionals, to protect patients. I feel like there's always this like yin and yang going. It's like this is put in place to help, and it helps people for a while, but then people were shitty and they start taking advantage of the system. So then the system starts overcompensating, and then because that's happening or happened, everything's cool now and no one's taking advantage of the system, but now the system is taking advantage of the people. So the people start fighting back and it's overcompensating again. And now the system's not taking advantage of the people. And the people are happy, but then people start taking advantage of the system again. And it's just like a never-ending thing. Something I got to ponder on. We're going on 56 minutes here, and I feel like I should end this up. But there's another thing I wanted to really get off my chest. So to preface, I have two college degrees. I said this in an earlier vlog. I don't know if it was ever caught or not. Maybe in other things, but in high school, I was going to a Votech school and for welding, and I was actually in the top of my class. I was really good at it. At least that's what my teacher said. I'm actually still pretty good at it, so maybe he wasn't lying. I was probably second best. There was this one dude, he was really good, and I was very envious of him. He was really good. He came into the hardware store I was working at like a year ago. And it was so ironic because I had been thinking about that guy. I was like, man, I bet you he's doing so well making welding. And he did not pursue welding either. We talked and it seemed like he was doing well. So I'm happy for him. I'm glad he was doing well. But I remember always being like doing my because we didn't have like, I guess we had tests and stuff. It was nothing really written. It was more of like, okay, you got to do so many welds like this and that, and then the teacher had to approve it and write it off, right? And I would get good at it. I'd practice. And I'm like, I got this, dude. He's going down. And I'd show him like, teacher, like, yeah, he's really good. And then freaking, I don't even remember his name. We'll call him Joe. Joe would be like, hey, teach, here's my weld, and it was freaking better. It was probably comparing like apples to oranges because it's like, if we both applied for the same job and and it was like doing welding something important, and they had two openings, we'd probably both get the job. You know what I mean? But and we were the only two applied or whatever, however you want to put that. But anyways, I have two college degrees. I was going to pursue welding. The girl I was dating at the time talked me out of it because she told me, quote, she could not continue dating someone who would do a dirty job like that. Yeah. Dumb. Because welders get the cheese. And I was good at it. And I wouldn't have had to pay for college. And that's why I ended up going to college. Was so that girl would keep dating me. And then she broke up with me anyways. So, yeah. The things you do when you're young. So, just to give you a background, pretty blue-collar family, I'd say. On my dad's side, on my mom's side as well too, but on my mom's side, there's also some white collar, right? I'd say 2/3 blue collar, 1/3 white collar. Obviously, I'm a pretty handy guy. I built a lot of these studio panels. I built my workshop, rewired my house, but I'm also efficient in, my recording software. I would say, if I'm being honest with myself, I have a pretty fair balance in knowledge. I'm handy. I'm logical. I'm I think I have some common sense. I'm willing to learn, I think, which is important. I was talking to someone recently who, I don't think he means to come off this way, but he kind of brags a lot about all these degrees he has. And he likes to try and argue with me about things that, honestly, if I don't know, I'm just like, dude, I don't know. I don't know anything about whatever the hell you're talking about. And sometimes I'm just like, dude, and I'm going to be honest, not only do I not know, I don't care. It's really cool that you're into whatever it is, right? It's not me. But we were having a conversation about living, like owning property, educating your children, and raising children. And this is coming from someone who does not have children. And all of you guys watching, I know most of you are also parents as well. The most annoying thing on the planet are when other people, especially people who do not have children, think that they know more than you about raising a child. Because, first of all, every parent is different. Most importantly, every child is different. You all know this if you have multiple children. What worked with the first child, none of it can work with the second child. And none of either of those can work with the third child, and so on. It's a different life that is hard to really explain, but people think that they know a lot about it. And we get this a lot too, because my wife has worked from home since 2010. And a lot of people also seem to think that when you work from home, you can also have children at home. Can you imagine, whatever it is your job, whatever it is you do, but I don't know, let's try and get a broad spectrum here. You are a manager of a store. You are an Uber driver. You are a cook. You are a waitress. You are a car salesman. You are all these things, right? Whatever it is you are. Whether you work at home or not, especially if you don't work at home. Can you imagine your kid being there? Is your kid gonna sit quiet in the corner and just twiddle their thumbs? Do you want your kid sitting in the corner on a phone, on an iPad, on a tablet, on a Nintendo Switch? What about your other kid? I don't know what it is. And I preface by saying my background and my knowledge or degrees and stuff, and my knowledge and what I know that I'm capable in as far as being handy and stuff. I know how to do electric. I'm not an electrician. I wired up my shop. I rewired my house. I don't know how to do entrance wire. I'm not an electrician. Do I think you need a certification to be an electrician? I think legally, yes, you do. Do you need a certification to run an entrance wire to your house? No, you don't. Maybe you do by law in some states. I don't actually know. But that's kind of my point. Is if you don't have experience in it, shut the hell up. And I don't know what it is, but why is it, and obviously not everybody, and maybe this is just me, but why is it that when people have a degree or multiple degrees, they think that they know so much more than everyone else, especially when they don't have field experience? Is it just me? It's incredibly frustrating. And it's very demeaning. There's lyrics from George Watsky. What was this? I can't remember the name of the song. George Watsky was one of those rappers from like around the 2010, 2015 era, like white dude rappers from California. I actually like a lot of his stuff. But he had a song and there was lyrics in it, and he's like, that's why there are millionaire dumb fucks and geniuses that driving dump trucks, which I think really resonates. Really, really resonates. There are so many people out there that have situations that you have no idea about. Absolutely no idea about. And it is stopping them from doing everything that they are capable of doing. There are people out here that have abilities and ideas that won't be heard because there's people out there that won't shut the fuck up. One of the biggest pet peeves, and I'm guilty, we're all probably guilty of it. I hate when people talk over each other. Sometimes people need to just like get to the fucking point and just shut up and get to the point, right? I'm scatterbrained. I have a hard time doing that. I get it. But if we don't listen to what people have to say, and all you want to do is just keep talking and just verbal diarrhea all the time about your stupid opinion, we are never going to progress the way that humanity can progress. But I wanted to ask you guys, do you feel the same way about people that have degrees? Maybe one more point before I finish it. I have a degree in music. Ow. That hurt. Oh, shit. I think it scared me more than it hurt. Never mind. I'm good. Yeah, we're good. Okay. I'm not bleeding. We're good. I have a degree in music. I'm not Mozart. There are people out there who have no music education, and they blow me out of the water. I'm not saying that I suck, but because you have a degree, it means, honestly, in most cases, it doesn't mean shit. And I think more people need to get that through their head. Like I said, that's not always correct, but it seems like it is a lot. It seems like those people don't shut up, and it's annoying. Do you agree? I don't know. I feel like I keep asking these questions, and there's like that bit of silence, like Mr. Rogers. You know how you would do that? Like, do you feel sad sometimes? And there's just that dead air. And it's like, I remember watching it as a kid. I'm like, who watches this? And I'm watching it. I'm like, why am I watching this? I want to watch it, but do I get sad sometimes? Mr. Rogers was a good guy. So, you know what, guys? I'm going to end it there. I appreciate your support. I'm doing very well today, also, by the way, if you can't tell. I think I've been speaking pretty well. I'm doing well, and everything's going good. And I appreciate your support. Again, all the links are in the bio. Please let me know what you think about the questions that I've asked. I would really love to hear them. Are you guys still cool with these long form raw vlogs like this? I like doing it. I thought it was going to be weird at first, but man, I came down here, I was kind of frustrated. Now I feel so much better. Yeah, please let me know all these things. Guys, if you feel like I was attacking you by any of these opinions that I put out there, I'm sorry, but it's just my opinion, right? I love all you guys. I'm not trying to call anyone out. Thank you for the support. I will see you tomorrow.